All right, 171. And Lance thought I should announce that I think Lance went to the bathroom before the show, but I haven't gone to the bathroom. I have to poop, but like I think that'll just add dramatic tension to the situation. On to the next taboo subject is I've been paying a lot of attention to my wife's boobs here in quarantine. Um, And I don't know. The
Ah,
deal is the secret to my wife's boobs is
have
we
some
only had
dignity.
one kid, so her boobs did not get wrecked, which is a good thing. Um, all right.
All right. Well, we're pushing the boundaries here. Were there any other subjects we should talk about?
Yeah, we should probably talk about just everybody, almost everybody I follow on Twitter feels like these are the darkest days yet. But I assume since you're of a different political stripe that you're going to say, nah.
No, I agree. These are the darkest days. I my hope is that Trump wins, and my hope is that he uses the Insurrection Act and brings out the National Guard to shut down the civil disorder. I would also like him to simply end the lockdowns around the states, which I think are contributing. But it may be that the way I see it, if things calm down, he won't call out the National Guard. But if they and he may not do anything extreme until until the election, until after the election. So uh, my advice to him would be that he's the leader and he's presiding over a budding civil war, and if he doesn't call out the National Guard, then he's not really a leader. He's just sort of waiting to see what happens November 3rd. Um, on the other hand, if he loses, I'm sure the violence will die down because the Democrats will have achieved their goal. But
Well,
wait, not done. But I'm I believe that if the Democrats win, it will personally fuck over my life in a lot of ways. There's
hold on.
policies.
I want to hear those ways, but I want to respond to your
Okay,
points first.
okay.
Well, on Twitter, which is where I live, um, I see a lot of liberals saying, don't go protest, don't play into the hands of people who want to say that that Democrats are setting the world aflame. Um, and you know, I'm I'm okay with more focused protests. I don't see that every fucking thing needs to be a fucking rodeo of far left versus far right. Because I mean, most Democrats um, are not out protesting. I mean, they sympathize with the um, some of the issues, but you know, while they're like, I mean, some of the while Antifa isn't, you'll claim Antifa is organized, and I'll say it doesn't seem like it, but like, there are plenty of like the Antifa guy who was arrested for shooting the conservative guy, killing him, right? You
Was that
saw
in
pictures of both.
Was that in Portland today?
I or I think it was yesterday. But you saw pictures of both guys, right? You saw the guy lying on the ground, right, in
I
shorts.
didn't see it. I watched the Kenosha the
Yeah.
Rittenhouse shooting in Kenosha, but I didn't see the Portland shooting. I was
All right, but
busy
anyway, they
today.
show the guy who got arrested, who's
Hmm.
apparently an Antifa troublemaker, and
No.
everybody, I think, both liberal and conservative, except people at the farthest fringes, just looking at the guy looks like a huge asshole, and apparently has been a huge asshole. Um, but that doesn't mean that the just because Antifa has a bunch of assholes in it, that doesn't mean that are liberals support this kind of shit. Um, and somebody noted that, for what it's worth, that conservatives wave a lot of, I mean, they wave American flags and they wave Trump flags, but that liberals out there protesting aren't like waving a bunch of Biden um, flags and just Biden paraphernalia. And
So
I,
you're gonna try and say
no,
that,
I'm just gonna summarize what is
yeah.
being said about that. Where
Hmm.
on the one hand, people say, well, that's because we're not fanatically following just one guy, that we care about, social issues, not just about our guy. On the other hand, people tweet, well, that's because nobody likes Biden that much. Um,
All right.
which
Are you
neither
done?
point is exactly, but anyway.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's just get down to it because uh, I hope you're not going to argue with me that Antifa and Black Lives Matter are actually Trump supporters, because I've been hearing things
No,
like
no,
that.
no.
That they,
Uh-uh.
no, they're if they were to vote, they would vote Democrat, right? You're not
Yeah.
going to argue about that. Okay,
I
fine.
mean, we
Good.
can talk about
That's good.
false flag bullshit at
No,
some
no,
point
that's
if you
good.
want,
That's
but
excellent. No, I have to say, you said two things that impressed me with your sincerity. So I like to argue with somebody that's being reasonable. So you're not for the protests, that these riots, and you've admitted that if these protesters or rioters were to
well,
vote, they would they
I'm
would vote
okay. Well,
Democrat,
to be
not
clear, hold
Trump.
on one sec. To be clear, um,
Uh-huh.
I'm okay with reasonable protests. I'm not
Yeah, well,
okay with protests that convince people on the right that everybody on the left is a fucking destructive asshole.
no,
Like I
I
think,
think what's happening is that the the left is getting blamed for it because these things are happening in left-wing cities where the mayors are telling the police to stand down. And the governors are refusing support from Trump, and Ocasio-Cortez, and even Senator Kamala Harris and Maxine Waters and quite a few other Democrat politicians have encouraged the protests and the riots. They want people to keep marching,
well,
but that's
there's a
not.
difference between protests and riots, or there should be
Well,
at least.
but unfortunately there isn't anymore. That's the problem. Is that uh, let me just explain something. I don't know why I have to do this because this should be obvious to people, but I guess I need to say this for the whole world. Um, there have always been shootings of black people in the United States. There always have been. There always will be, unless black people never interact with the police in any kind of situation. Uh, Occasionally, these shootings are completely unjustified, and in those cases, the police should be punished to the greatest extent of the law. But what is happening is any reasonable person should realize that if we're going to have a protest every time somebody gets shot in the United States, last year, I think we went over the numbers. It turned out something like 19 black people were shot by the police and killed last year, something like that, roughly under 20. Thousands get killed by other black people in the crime-ridden Democrat cities.
Well,
But
hold on.
my point,
Hold on.
but
So
no,
let's stop
but
you
wait,
right there.
wait,
Hold on.
wait. Let me
Because
finish my point.
when you say crime-ridden, Trump does the same thing. Hold on. When you say crime-ridden,
no, you're not letting me finish my point. Then
but
I'll
hold on.
bring it to a
Let me
close. I'll
make a
bring it to a
quick point.
close.
Let me make a quick point that most cities have Democratic mayors. So it's just it's not that there are Republican cities that are orderly and there are Democratic cities.
It's true. It's true that the cities with the highest crime rates are Democrat cities,
Because
and the
most
cities that
cities have Democratic leadership. So
no,
most
no, but the cities that have had lengthy Democrat leadership have the worst crime.
no,
Democrats are Democrats ruin the cities that they are mayors over, and they don't know how to handle crime, and they're anti-police. De Blasio just defunded the police in New York, and they've got an outbreak of
I'm not
crime.
going to
But
disagree
I'm
with you.
going to wait. Okay, then let me just
No, I'm not
finish
going
my
to
point.
disagree with you
Right?
about De Blasio. De Blasio
Okay,
seems to be not great.
and the mayor of Chicago, where there are more people being killed in Chicago than there are in Central American countries where they're fighting over they're having drug wars. So, but let me just finish. Now the point's not even worth getting to, but the point I was going to make is the Democrats can have riots every time a black person is shot now. So don't interrupt me. So my point is that everyone's got a cell phone camera now.
Which is
Everyone can
good.
film. We didn't have this 40 years ago.
But it's good.
And so
Cameras are good.
I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, Rick. Don't interrupt me. What I'm saying is that the Democrats want these riots. The Antifa, Black Lives Matter, they want these riots. And they're going to get them every single time there's a shooting. There will be a shooting a month from now. There will be a shooting a month after that. So the Democrats want civil unrest. Now, if there are solutions to this, but I want you to understand that it's not going to go away because the police aren't going to stop arresting black people. And there will be arrests that go bad. So my point is that it'll be civil unrest forever now, and it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a riot every time somebody is shot, uh, either unfairly or resisting arrest. If it's unfair, we should go through the normal channels and try to punish the cop. But
If there
having
are
a city
normal
burn,
channels.
well, there are,
But if the
and I
channels
mean,
fucking work, because a lot of the times, like the DA is friends with the cops, and the whole system is, and you've got that deal that I forget what you call it. If a cop if cops regularly do something, and if you did that same thing, then you're off the hook. And
they have a kind of immunity. They have a
yeah,
kind of
qualified
immunity.
immunity. That's it. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
I would say that the protests are to some extent cumulative. That it's not based on just one thing, but it's based on the whole. Like it's like when you're on the verge of breaking up with somebody. It's everything you do, no matter how little, reminds that person of 50 other fucking things you did, and they get pissed off really easily. And there's a whole history, and it's not just like arrests that go bad and somebody gets killed. It's the whole relationship between black people and police. There's a woman. Let me plug her show. There's a woman, a writer and performer for Seth Meyers, Amber Ruffin, who's the most She's funny and she's the most adorable person in the fucking world. And she's got a show that premieres next month on Peacock, which is NBC's, I don't know, streaming fucking whatever. And she's just fucking adorable. This super cute black woman, super smart, super funny, super endearing. Um, and she had a whole thing on Seth Meyers um, where she would just tell stories of her run-ins with the cops for no reason. Like one time, she parked her car in an alley to wait for her friend. And it turned out the alley was a block away from a police station. The cops just went crazy on her um, for being parked close to a police station. Um, and a lot of black people have, and you could argue statistically, but like I know that like I've had encounters with LA cops that have made me nervous. It's not just black people, but it's often black people, and it's regularly black people who've had shitty encounters with the cops. And the idea is to just improve things. And thing two is um, there are, there are ways to protest that don't involve burning shit, which I'm all in favor of. Like, when the NBA stopped down for a day and Major League Baseball kind of half stopped down and the WNBA stopped down, and it turns out that, like the guy who got, as you said, there's video of shit, and the guy who got shot in the back 7 times, it looked like, at the very least, just shitty police work. Because there were 3 cops, and they somehow couldn't get between the guy and his car. The guy walked all the way. 3 cops couldn't take down a guy before it turned into a situation where the guy got his car door open, and the 1 cop felt compelled to shoot the guy 7 times in the back. They had all these opportunities for that not to get to that point, regardless of what you think about the actual point where the guy gets shot. So anyway, I'm just saying that when this shit happened, it looked really bad. And LeBron James and a couple other NBA guys called up Obama and said, what do you think we should do about this? We want to do something. And together they came up with a plan that we're going to, take a day off from the NBA playoffs. And I like reasonable people in leadership positions doing reasonable shit in reaction to shit that doesn't look reasonable.
Well, number one, I think it's crazy that the NBA is going on strike over a police incident. There have been police incidents our whole lives, and professional sports managed to put on basketball games. Muhammad Ali continued to box.
No, he went to prison. He fucking went to prison.
No, but that was because of personal decision in his life. He actually went against the law.
He decided not to be drafted.
Right. So I'm not saying that an individual person couldn't protest, but what I'm saying is in America we have professional sports that go on. I mean, he didn't quit boxing, and I think all these, I think
he did for 2 years while he was in prison, but okay.
Right. No, but my point is that philosophically, Muhammad Ali believed in putting on boxing matches. The war continued after he was released from prison. He didn't say I'm going on strike. He was a conscientious objector, which is every American's right. My point is that it's stupid for these sports industries to get involved with politics, and it'll never be the same again for those industries. I mean,
Well, why?
they're
Fuck, it was shit was delayed for one day. Not a single game was canceled.
yeah. Well, my point is that there will always be an incident somewhere out there, and if the NBA wants to kneel during the national anthem, if nobody wants to stand up, if they're going to wear little patches on their uniforms, uh, celebrating a variety of left-wing causes, if they're going to go on strike, then you know what? I'm not interested in your little basketball games
You weren't
anymore. I'm
interested
tired
anyway.
of it.
You weren't interested before.
Well, my point is that I have been interested in sports, and a lot of the people that I know that are still interested in sports are getting tired of being lectured to by these professional athletes whose opinions are superficial and poorly, in my opinion, poorly thought out. Now, as far as the incident of the guy that was being arrested in Kenosha and got shot 7 times in the back, um, you could say that it was poor police work. So your argument would be that every police officer would need an extra year of training in jujitsu in order to overcome every person they're trying to subdue. And that would be possible, but it would be expensive. Don't interrupt. So the point is that the guy resisted arrest. At one point, he got one of the policemen in a headlock. So they weren't up to the challenge, and he was at there was a warrant for this guy's arrest for some kind of sex crime. Uh, and when he went back in the car, there was a knife in the car. He was close enough to slit a cop's throat, and I've seen videotapes, training tapes of cops that they show cops. Don't interrupt me. Just let me finish this. I've seen videotapes where a guy just like this guy reaches into his car, pulls out a gun, and kills a cop. And it happens literally in the blink of an eye. And so every cop sees these videos. So they knew that one, he was a criminal, or there was a warrant out for his arrest for a serious crime. Two, he had resisted arrest, got one of the cops in a headlock, and had proved himself to be capable of resisting them. Three, he reached into his car to get something I would never do. No, I mean, for all of our millions of listeners, I live in LA and we're taught to keep our hands on the wheel. Our older brothers or fathers say, keep your fucking hands on the wheel. That's what I do. So I don't reach into the recesses of my car and pull out objects because I know that I can get shot. And finally, I had a friend that was in law enforcement, and he said that they're taught to empty the gun. That's
I
why
know
everyone
that.
says,
But I know about
everyone,
emptying the
well,
gun.
I know, but our viewers don't. So let me just say, uh, they're not taught to fire once and wait to see what happens. Once they're at a point where they fire, they're taught to empty the gun. If they have 7 bullets in the clip, they fire them. And the reason is because there are also videos of cops taking a shot, waiting to see what happens while the guy turns around and shoots him. And at that point, if the cop feels that his life's in danger and he's got to be the first on the draw, he will shoot. So my point is that there will be incidents like this around America. You want to have a riot for every one of them? I think it's obvious that whoever is in charge of these riots, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Antifa, they're not doing it because of race relations. Because they know they're not stupid. They know just as well as we do that there are cops apprehending criminals all over the country. They're doing it so that they can cause a revolution.
Well, all right, I disagree with that. And also, I'm not going to argue too hard about the exact point where the guy gets shot 7 times, where that's uh, up to, that should be argued by, I don't know, qualified professionals. Now, it's not clear that conservative media says the guy was reaching for the knife. I don't think the guy ever said that. And he told the cops that he had a knife on the floor of the car. He also had his 3 kids in the car, so we don't know what his thinking was at the time. But I can't argue that 1 second where the cop. I'm arguing because I was a bouncer for 25 years, and I didn't have training, and in fact, I was a bad bouncer when it came to the physical shit. But I was in situations where you're trying to stop a guy from doing something, and there were 550 pounds of cop versus 150 pounds of black guy. And the guy had to walk quite a ways around the car, and I know they shot a taser at him, and it didn't stop him, probably because if both prongs don't pierce your flesh, then you don't get a circuit, and it doesn't take you down, and whatever. But it seems like it shouldn't have gotten to the point where the guy had to be grabbed anyway.
Well, so are you against female cops?
Well,
Because
fucking even
are you against?
female, were any of the cops female on the?
No. My question to you is, if your argument is that cops need to be very well trained and powerful, and they need to be able to subdue opponents because they won't be able to subdue
I'm just saying, in this particular situation,
like Barron Trump.
In that particular situation, the cops did a bad job of stopping the guy from getting to the point where one of the cops had to decide whether or not. All right, next thing is.
I understand.
Hold on. Let me finish my point. You got to make a bunch. So the deal is that empty the clip into the guy. Because if you only shoot a guy once or twice, he might not be dead enough to not shoot you. I would like to see, I don't know that anybody has ever done an actuarial analysis of how many shots is the best outcome. In that ideally you want to minimize, you could argue that in a situation that the life of the cop is more important than the life of the assailant. Now, some people could argue the opposite, that lives are equal, but I could see making the argument. But anyway, there's some value placed on each life, the suspect and the cop, and there's probably a number of shots to put into the guy in a situation where you feel like your life is endangered, like the guy who got shot in Chicago, where he was walking away from the cops. I think he was shot 17 times. So that guy was very dead by the time they were done shooting. But maybe that empty the clip into the guy thing isn't the optimum number, because they've done analyses. Statisticians can do analyses on shit. We've got enough records. Like, I can tell you how many packs of meat you should look at the grocery store if you're looking for a particular price point on your meat. The likelihood, if you're looking for the smallest pack of meat, pick up one and then pick up another, and if the next one you pick up weighs less than the first one, then stop right there, because it's not worth it for you to statistically for you to keep searching through all the meat to find one that weighs less. And similarly, maybe the optimal thing isn't empty the clip. Maybe the optimal thing, maybe you teach cops, shoot the guy 3 times. But that usually is enough to take the guy down and not necessarily, I mean, we know that common cop practice is empty the clip, but maybe that's a thing that needs to be looked at. Maybe some other shit needs to be looked at. And mostly, I think what reasonable people want is policing to be looked at analytically to see what can be improved.
Yeah, but the problem is that the Democrats of all the major cities that I know of have came out in support of defunding the police. So
Defund,
what
all
you
right, I
really
would argue it was a
no, no, you're
bad.
interrupting me. You're interrupting me.
Okay.
All right. So now what you're arguing for again is one, another 2 years of training for the police. Because let's face it, police are not that well trained. If
No.
you really are concerned about it, then you could give them a year of training in jujitsu so they can subdue their opponents. Uh, you could train them better with the guns because maybe they're afraid that the first 2 bullets miss and that the second 2 bullets might not be enough to stop the guy. So there may be a reason that they shoot so many times, and maybe it's because they're not good enough shots. But
No,
my
it's
point is wait, I'm not done, not done. I think that to get the perfect world that you want, we'd have to have no female cops because they're not big enough to stop these guys, and they go right for the weapon, and you know that. They have no alternative. They either let the guy go or they go for their weapon because a 5'3" female cop can't subdue a 6'6" man without resorting to a weapon or backup. So my point is that there are a lot of changes that you want, but you may have to get rid of small cops, female cops, and spend a fortune giving cops more training. And all the Democrat mayors that I know of are defunding the police.
well,
I know that in
hold on,
LA,
hold on.
they've defunded. Yeah, they're
Defunding the
not
police is
defunding the police,
defunding the police is a terrible phrase. What?
but it's true. They are doing it.
Well, what I think. Wait, our director has a thing. What director? Yeah. No, I didn't say that. I don't know. I felt good. You know what? I felt I've chased enough people. I felt I didn't feel great because I didn't catch them, but I also felt great because I didn't catch them. Because what do you do if you do catch them? There's no good outcome. It was probably the best outcome in that I chased them away. I maybe scared them. I had a little adventure, and everything ended with nobody getting hurt. Um, and I didn't entirely lose my shit. It wasn't my first time chasing somebody. So um, I thought it. But the deal is, all right. Here's the fucking deal. A cop pensions out at 20 years, right? That's usually the amount of you want to enter the force when you're young, and then take your pension after 20 years, and then you're still pretty young, and you can start a whole other career while you're getting paid your pension. So for when you train a cop, you're generally training a cop for 20 years of service. But a police academy is what, 4 or 5 months, 6 months max? So I could see turning what is a 4 month program into a 7, 8, 9 month program, because that's still a small fraction of the 20 years you expect to get out of the cop. Also, my dad was a CPA, and this applies to doctors and to lawyers, and there's in service training. where my dad, to keep his CPA license, had to take like 40 hours of classes a year to stay current in shit. And same for doctors and lawyers. So maybe there's further where you have to take, I don't know what in service, I don't know what training cops are expected to go through. Yeah, and I think most people who unfortunately pick defunding the police as the phrase, it really means, and it's an unfortunate phrase, and I think Bill Maher said the same thing. Like or no, Rick Wilt, somebody said, as soon as that phrase, somebody came up with it, somebody else should have said, don't fucking use that phrase, that'll fuck us in getting what we want, because it sounds like we're, anyway, I'm in favor of, spending the the fairly large police budgets for looking at ways that money can be spent to improve policing.
Got it. So what you're saying is you're not a Democrat because the Democrats are for defunding the police.
No,
So
they're
what
for
you want, no, no, what you want is
diversifying.
more money. You want more money given to the police. Is that what you're saying? Because that's what the Republicans are saying. We want more money given to the police, not less.
I think that most people, liberal and conservative, just want adequate money for the police because some studies show that you have shittier outcomes when you don't have enough police. And
I
certainly,
understand that, but it's the mayor of New York and the mayor of Los Angeles have cut back the police budgets
I
by
think,
a
like, okay,
substantial
so
amount.
I think the police budget in LA is either $1 billion or $1.5 billion a year, and I think that was cut by like 5%.
Okay, so but that 5%, with an additional 5%, they may have been able to train the cops up to your standards, Rick. So what you're doing is
All right,
voting
so
for
if you want to say
somebody.
that I'm not a
You're
true
you're
whatever, that I'm more interested in redirecting the funds within the police world to to have better outcomes, then yeah, fine. Then that's what I am. But I'm
Yeah,
still
but the
liberal.
thing
But
is, you're not liberal. You believe in number one, you believe in using fossil fuels. You believe in using nuclear power.
well,
You said you agreed with building the wall. You said that now you want the police to get more money. So you're not a
no, you're
liberal,
not.
Rick.
No,
You're a Trump supporter.
I'm not. In the a lot of the places like they've showed where they're building the wall. Like I'm fine for like making the wall more effective where the wall could be effective. Um, you know,
Biden is considering removing the wall. He's mentioned that.
you'd have to show me that because that just seems like
Yeah,
bullshit.
he says he's against building the wall, and it's not out of the
No,
question
no,
that they
you'd have
may
to show me
tear
the
it down.
quote where Biden says that maybe we should consider removing the wall. If you can
But
show me that, I would
I
be
can look
very
that up if
satisfied.
you want. You want to stop the show, and I'll try and find a Democrat,
No, it has to
a
be
high
Biden.
level. It has to be Biden. All right, Biden on the wall. Let's stop the fucking show and look it up, okay?
Okay, I'm gonna do sit-ups. You can look it up.
Rick.
Yeah.
All right, August 5th. August 5th. This is an interview in I found it in two sources, three, Fox News, Dallas Morning News, and it's in The Hill on August the 6th.
Okay.
According to Biden, quote, there will not be another foot of wall construction in my administration, Biden said during an interview, according to the Dallas Morning News. I'm going to make sure that we have border protection, but it's going to be based on making sure we use high-tech capacity to deal with it. And at the ports of entry, that's where all the bad stuff is happening. Okay?
Okay. So he doesn't want to remove the wall. He just doesn't want to build any new wall, and he wants high-tech shit. That's
But Rick, the wall doesn't cover our border. It's only 400 miles by December, and that leaves 1,900 more miles. So it won't work anymore. And flying drones over the area doesn't stop anybody. So effectively, I was correct. He doesn't want to build the wall anymore.
no. You said Biden wants to remove the wall, is what you said, and I said bullshit.
Okay, well, Rick, okay, I'm going to say this. He doesn't want to remove the 400 miles, but he's not going to build the extra 900 that we need. So he will not build any more wall. Is that sufficiently explanatory about him not wanting to build a wall, not wanting
No,
to
I mean, 'cause
have a
you said
wall?
you made the crazy claim that Biden wants to remove the wall.
Do you want me to look up if he said that too? I thought,
No,
you know
that's what I
what?
asked
Wait,
you to
wait,
look up.
Rick,
That's
Rick,
what I
Rick,
asked
Rick.
you to look up, but that's fine. We
Okay,
can
this
move
is
on.
this is
We
what's
can move on.
interesting.
We can fucking
No,
move
no,
on.
no, 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 no. I now because Rick is unreasonable, I'm going to have to look up to see if he's thinking about removing any of the wall.
Well, because that's what you
Okay?
said.
So
That's
turn
what
the show
came out
off.
of your mouth.
Turn the show off. You see, I would have thought that a reasonable person with the highest IQ in America would have understood that not continuing the extra 900 miles was almost the same as removing it. But I'm wrong.
It's not.
I'm sorry.
The
Now
highest
I
the
have to
highest
say,
IQ person, and I might be third now because I was just told that some other person also surpassed. So I might be third in the world instead of second now. So I'm getting dumber by the day. But yeah, a high IQ person won't allow himself to be steamrolled and bullshitted. Anyway,
well,
you want to look up,
wait a
if
minute.
you want to look it
Wait.
up.
It's not bullshit. If you're trying to build a wall around a border, and it's a 1,200 mile border, and you're only going to
It's
put up
2,000
wall.
miles. It's 2,000 miles.
Okay. Well, we've got only 400 covered, Rick.
Well,
So,
two-thirds of it is the Rio Grande.
okay, listen to me, Rick. We don't have enough wall to cover the border. We need another 900 miles of border wall. And for Biden to say he's not going to build one more foot on August the 5th to the Dallas Morning News, that means he isn't going to support the wall project. Okay? It's true that he may not tear down the 400 miles that we did build, but it also means that he's against the building of the wall. Do you understand that, Rick?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm fine.
Okay,
My
but
understanding of that.
you do want a wall though.
I like a wall where you need a wall. Do you need a wall across the whole 12, 1,300 mile border length of the Rio Grande? That proves to be logistically tough and also not
Well,
always necessary
I don't know that
because
I don't.
the Rio Grande in a lot of places is at least half a fucking deterrent. And
Well,
so maybe so the deal is like, have you seen the shit they can do with drones now?
they
Like
can't
the
stop people from crossing the border.
but they can pinpoint people. And
That doesn't matter. It
When
doesn't matter.
Biden
They don't.
says, you quoted Biden saying that most of the bad shit happens, most of the shit that needs to be policed happens at the ports of entry, the crossing points between like Tijuana and San Diego, or between Juarez and El Paso. Um, that yeah, that again, it's like policing where you look at the fucking situation and you figure out what combination of procedures and technologies will be most effective. I mean, that's just the fucking deal.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think what's happening is you're quibbling. This is called special pleading. Okay? Obviously Biden is against having a wall, And it's not, he doesn't get into the detail that you're getting into. He's against having a wall.
No,
And
because
the reason,
Under Obama, which included Biden as VP, they put up hundreds of miles of barriers, fencing, and walls. They put up most of the fucking wall shit that Trump is reinforcing
yeah,
or
I've
expanding.
seen that wall shit, and it didn't work. They were rusty little fences that didn't stop anybody.
Okay,
That's
so
why we were getting.
but they weren't pulling down wall, they were putting up shit. And okay, so maybe some of it wasn't effective and Trump is trying to make it more effective, but it wasn't like the Obama Biden administration was tearing wall out. They were putting shit up, and it
No,
wasn't
no,
like they were
actually,
cavalierly saying we don't give a fuck about the border.
yes, they were actually, Rick. During the Obama administration, they had something called a catch and release program. And what that meant was the Border Patrol could catch anybody they wanted, but then they had to immediately release them and make them promise to show up for a court hearing. So if you want to go on believing that, I would say you're delusional, because
Okay, all
thousands
right,
and
okay, let's move
thousands of
on. All right,
people,
I'm not
thousands
gonna
and
keep arguing
thousands of
this
people
point.
were
Okay, I'm not
crossing
gonna.
the border.
Let's move on to something else, which is based on
Okay,
a tweet I
just
saw.
to finish, I couldn't find a quote where it actually says, I, Joe Biden, am going to remove the wall, but
Yeah,
I've
because that would be
heard him,
crazy. Why would he do that?
for the same reason he's not going to continue building the wall.
But the wall is stupid because there
It's
are.
not
It's not.
stupid, Rick.
The
So
wall
you're
only
against
makes sense
building
in
a
the
wall.
place that we have fucking wall, and in a lot of places it's stupid to put or unworkable to put the wall, and you want to do different shit. Like,
Rick, nobody believes that in a 2,000-mile border, having 400 miles of wall is adequate.
well, okay, but we
The
don't.
people that are trying to,
We've got 650 miles of wall, and then much of the rest is either Rio Grande River or crazy mountains that are hard to fucking get over. That people just don't. Crazy landscape that is unget overable.
Rick, whenever they've discussed building the wall, they've said they need about 1,000 miles of wall. Okay, this is it's your special pleading. The
Okay,
people in the
fine. Say
audience
whatever. So
realize
let's
that you're
wrap it
trying
up.
to
You made your
argue.
point.
You want to say that Biden is for border security, but you also want to say that he doesn't want to build a wall, but he does want to build a wall, but whatever he decides is okay, because there will be these drones that will stop people, and
Now,
which they
no, I'm
didn't
not going to
do
argue that. I'm going to
for
argue
the
that
two
that
for the
that,
two
that you
terms of the
try
Obama.
shit. Like
Mhm.
Trump tried out. I remember when he auditioned like 8 different types of wall. He had 8 contractors come in, and each of them built a 30-foot wide stretch of wall. And
Yeah, I
from
do
that,
remember that. Yeah, I
what?
remember.
Okay,
I
so
remember.
so you try different shit. So not
Well,
everything
then
that.
why is it if you try different shit, how do you why when Biden said on August 5th to the Dallas Morning News that he was not going to build one more foot of wall, why does that tell you that how does he know that building one more foot of wall would be a terrible mistake? How does he know that, Rick? Has he been
You know
trying to
what?
build a wall?
He doesn't fucking know that. But he's going to try other shit in addition to barriers, and we'd see how it works. I mean,
The
this is
barriers that
like a
Trump built.
brand. What?
The barriers that Trump built. He's going to try other shit as well as barriers, like the barriers that Trump built.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trump solved the problem that for 8 years went completely
But
untouched.
fucking did Trump solve the problem because you've got a fucking 2,000
Yeah,
mile
actually,
border.
actually, you asked me a question, and I'm going to answer it. Yeah, when was the last time we had a caravan of thousands of people coming up through Central America? to try to
before
pour over the
fucking
border.
COVID made Mexico close its border and like half the world closed their borders to Americans. Who's gonna want
Actually,
to? I don't think you're gonna get fucking caravans under COVID.
well, really? You're telling me that the drug lords on the border with Mexico are the ones are they shut down out of an abundance of caution that because they didn't want Americans to get COVID? That's what you
No, no,
think?
because America is fucking lousy. We're not the best country for people to want to come to right now.
Oh, you're telling me that people in war-torn Central America wanted to come to America, but then we got COVID, and so the whole caravan of 1,200 people turned around and went back.
I don't know. I don't fucking know. I'm just guessing that COVID has something to do with it, or that
I don't
I
think
mean, since
COVID had anything to do with it,
hold on,
Rick.
since 2008, I know that we've had net negative immigration. That more people have more illegals according to Pew and these organizations and government people say that we've lost more illegals than we've gained because of shit going on in this country. But anyway, but that brings up another thing I just want to mention because Biden mentioned drones, and I just saw on Drudge that the drug lords that we love so much, they are now using drones to blow up their enemies. They can fucking they can put bombs and cameras on drones, and they can just fucking fly a bomb in and blow up somebody's head. So I don't know. Drones seem like worth trying on the border.
So you think we should put bombs on drones and blow up illegals' heads when they
No, I'm just
cross the
saying that
border?
the drones are super versatile. Like you've seen the fucking drone shows at stadiums where they're
I
fucking.
don't think drones are going to stop anybody, Rick. That's why you need to build a wall. And for Biden to say on August the 5th to the Dallas Morning News that he's not going to build one more foot of wall means to me that he's against border security.
Yeah, that's bullshit. But okay, let's move on to something else.
I,
Um,
I don't think it's bullshit. I think it's a
Wait, hold
reasonable
on. I got a
assumption.
topic. But wait a second. Let me talk about the RNC in a second. I saw a tweet a couple days ago, and it really hit home. And it said, people who are leaning towards voting for Trump don't want to be yelled at about how he's a dictator and shit like that. They want to, you need to communicate with people about their personal situations. And at that point, I'm like, all right, so I'm not going to talk about, Trump like being like Hitler. I'm going to talk about Trump being the most incompetent president in history, where we have a pandemic like 1918, an economic crash like 1921, social unrest like 1968, and national sadness or malaise like 1979, all at once in an unprecedented combo. And none of the people who were presidents during those four previous things ever served another term. And we're in like this is a fucked situation, and you have to ask that Reagan question: are you better off now than 4 years ago? And all the shit that's going on, including the protests, they're all happening under this president right now. They're not Biden protests.